Alright, we're back again. Okay, I got a 82 thou washer now. We took out the 78. So this is 5 thou difference. That should drop us from 14 down to roughly around 7 thousandths. No, that's not right. Around 9 thousandths in play. Probably be between 8 and 9 because it's tight. Okay, so you gotta check it. Don't trust anything. Always put what you're gonna run in the vehicle. Okay, so now you gotta get the wash to go in here. Let gravity help you by letting the cluster drop down. Move the washer in the center of the hole. Looks close. Move the shaft up. He's in there. Now it's in there. You can hear the clearance now. And here you can see what it is. Just a little bit, not too bad. So that would be your minimum number. So you can be a little bit tighter than that. You can be a little bit looser than that like we had it, but that's your minimum number. Now if we want to check it, we go ahead and pull out our 8 thou feeler gauge. Let's see, going the wrong direction. Nope, now it's going the right direction. There's 7, there's 8. 8 should go in easily. Nope. 8's tight. So we're under 8. So we'll try a 7. Seven's tight. Try a 6. Six is loose on the bottom but tight on the top. The race isn't quite flat, which doesn't surprise me any. And we're down to 5. Still ain't going in. Goes in partially and it gets bound up. See, was that 4 or 5? I think we just did 5. So this is 4. Before it gets tight. Rotate it, binds in there. So we're under 4 thou. Alright, so it's a little bit snug in there. So we're going to go back to our 78 shim. The races aren't flat from one side to the other, so causes it to be a tight spot in there. Okay. Pull that one out. We'll go back to the other one. Okay, clearance is now back. Okay, let's go see what we really had. Obviously we didn't have 14. We had 14 on one side, but not the other. Okay, let's try 7. See if we got 7 in here now. Okay, we do have 7. There's 8. It went in kind of snug, but it's in there. Try 9. Nine's getting tight, so it's at 9. Okay, so that noise is 9th out. The other noise is about 3.5. Okay, so that's how you figure out what you need. You go too tight and then you come back. You know for sure where you're at. Okay, so we're going to run a 78 valve brush washer. So that gets our counter shaft all set up. So now I can go ahead and put the seal in here and get that all finished up on this side. And we're not going to use the 82 valve washer. Okay. Pop this out. And the clutch gear does not come out until you pull that washer. See, it doesn't come up. The washer has to drop out on the bottom down there. You can't see it before this will come up. See how it drops down in the case on the bottom down there? There's a lip right here in the case, undercut. That's what this cluster gear hits on it. Okay, so we know what washers we need now. So this is good to go. Pull this all back off. Let's go ahead and get the second gear on here. Hopefully all this stuff fits together, unlike the last one we did where it didn't. Okay, there's our bushing. There's our second gear. It's a little snug, but it does go on and off, so when you have to have it just exactly right, you know you're getting close on your clearances. As easy means you're under 2. Okay, that's good. Okay, second gear washer is the one with the 2 tits on it. Put that down. And you look up in there and make sure you can see the full snap ring groove. That would mean the snap ring should go in there. I'll put a little bit of grease on there. Okay, we're going to use the stock spiral style snap ring. Ones I like. Get over the top of the splines all the way around. You can take the shift dog and shove it down. That gets you down part of the way. Turn the gear, it goes down further. Okay, now the snap ring is all the way down in there right now. So you just look at it, make sure it went all the way in, and then we check our in play. Hear it? So, now that is not adjustable unless you do cutting and grinding. Okay, and unlike the last one, this one actually fit. Okay, now the 1-2 shift dog, doesn't matter how it goes in, you go in either direction. So you can either have the numbers toward second gear or toward low gear. I'll put them toward second gear, but it doesn't matter. Okay, once you got in there, Put a little grease up on the shaft here. Put the washer in there, it's a little bit smaller without the little titties on it. Now, if you don't put that washer in there, this bushing will eat up against these splines and it will eat it up. That's its job. You also see how this bushing has a chamfer on the top and not on the inside. That lets you put it on the gear easier. Make sure everything's well greased and slip it on. It slips on a little bit easier with the grease on it. Notice that? Okay, so this whole assembly now is done. If you're going to run a speedo job, make sure you got that on there at this point, otherwise you have to take the whole tranny back apart to get to it. Now if you want, you can check to make sure the dog slides back and forth like it's supposed to. Never hurts to double check things, because they don't always work. Okay, so now we get all the pre-assembly done there. The next thing we gotta do is we gotta wipe off the grease off our counter shaft, because we don't want any grease on this, because we want the sealer to seal against it. Now when this goes through the cluster, it's gonna grease it again, so it'll get lubed by the cluster gear. Now you want to wipe the grease out of the bushing here, because this is where the sealer has to go to seal up the counter shaft hole. Okay, get that wiped off with that. I'm going to blow and wipe off the grease. I gotta get all that grease off right in there, because that's where the sealer is going to go to do its job. Blow that off. Wipe it off some more. Put a little bit of solvent on there to clean it. A little bit of solvent. You can also use brake clean or something like that. So get all that off of there and there like that. Then blow it dry. And wipe off any residue again. Okay, that gets the bushing hole nice and dry. So now when you put sealer in here, it'll seal it. If you got grease on there, sealer don't work on grease. So it's kind of important that it's dry. Alright. You gotta make sure this area here is dry also. Appears to be. Okay. Now, we got our assembly still connected together, so you gotta make sure you get your thrust washer in there on these early trannies. The later trannies is part of the gear, but if you got loose rollers, there's a washer. So make sure they're all in there. Go ahead and stick that up in the case. Make sure all the rollers went up in there where they belong. So they're all in there now. Now this has a O-ring on here that goes on the shaft, unlike Harley. So this gives you the special sealing O-ring that other people sell online. When you buy the high gear from Andrews, it comes with its own seal. So you can use a standard seal brace, which is this one. You gotta make sure this goes all the way down inside the groove. If it doesn't go all the way inside the groove, when you put it on, it'll shear off. Get stuck between that, maybe jam into the rollers, cause all kinds of problems. Leakage will be your least about your problem. Locked up rollers and bad tranny will be the worst thing. Once those rollers quit rolling, tranny doesn't live. Okay, so now we got that up in there. Take a little bit of grease with the tip of the screwdriver and make sure you got a little grease on the O-ring. Pre-lube it. Okay, that gets that part done. And then we go in our gasket set. We need our cork. We need our big seal. The knife was out someplace. This wasn't in my pocket where it belongs, on the workbench. Okay, so this is the James seal, which is the best one you can buy. It has the goop on the outside, which you don't really need, because that's what the cork's job is. It has a little wiper grooves inside the seal lip, which helps shove the oil back into the case where it belongs. And you have the outside lip that keeps the dirt from getting to the seal lip that works. Now the cork's job is to go on the back side of the seal here, and it seals the oil from going up around this, in case this case has scarring in it from pulling seals in and out a bunch of times. So that's its job. And you also got to make sure that your seal bearing race here will go inside of it. If this is hang up on top of it, it won't work. It jams everything all up. So you got to make sure these are the right size, because the aftermarket ones I had on the last tranny were the wrong size. Okay, now you take your seal, cork seal, stick in the case, make sure it's all the way down. Like this. So now it's all the way up in there. Then you take this one here and your seal, and they go together. So put a little bit of oil, grease, whatever you want to use, on top of the seal area here. Don't run it dry. It will not like you if it runs dry. And I take this and I put it into the seal and I work it around the seal. You got to make sure the lip does not fold back on itself. It goes in there nice and smoothly and goes back and forth nicely, you're alright. If it's bound up hard all the way, you probably rolled the lip on the other side, which is bad. That means it will never work. It will leak. Okay. Oh, I forgot something again. Let's see here. That is not the right piece. There's the right one. Okay, here's the special pusher that shoves this all together. So you have an undercut in here for the race where it sticks up. It goes in there like that. Then you'll push this all the way in, and there's a 50 thou difference between the height of this lip and here where it hits the case. So it actually puts the seal 50 thou below the surface when you push it into the case, which is what the book says you're supposed to do. That will also shove this really hard into the cork and seal it. Now, just like last tranny, I forgot to put the high gear seal in, which is kind of important. So that should be inside of the seal kit here. Kind of resembles this. So we got to put this inside of the gear. So that means we get to take it back out again. Okay, so this goes inside the lip right here. Now you're supposed to have this below the surface, but usually when it does, it hits the bushing and doesn't work. So instead of doing it like I did last time wrong, I'm going to put it, instead of having recessed in 50 thou like the book says to do, I'll make it flat. I'll use this side. Flat's good enough. So I'll do that in the press. So I'll go do that right now. Okay, I push that in tight, and if you look at the seal lip, it's almost flush with the top of that gear in there. So when you push the seal all the way back like it's going to run. Now if you had this recessed down anything at all, more than about 15 thou, this lip will catch on the top of that bushing and it will leak, because the seal does not work if it's bound up. It has to be free to float. So when you put these in below the surface, you got problems. On the older transmissions, there's plenty of room, but on these new ones, they're not making them right anymore. Alright, so that's in there. Now, you can put this in there with a big vise, but trying to push on it with a hammer and beat it in, usually never works. It usually cocks the seal, and it catches the lip, and then it just folds it back on itself, the steel part, and then you're junk. You gotta get another one. That's why I use the press. You press it in flat and true, it goes in straight, you're good. If you have a good vise, it'll push in straight and true too. You can do it in a vise. Doing it by hand, not likely it'll work. Maybe 20% of the time. So you better have a stack of seals if you're going to do it that way. Okay, so now I got that in there. I might as well go ahead and put some grease in here while I'm at it. Inside the high gear bush. It's a lot easier doing it right now than later. Okay, so we got a good layer of grease in there. Now we go ahead and put this back up in there. One more time. It's about time for the rollers to fall out. There we go. Okay. So now we're all back in here again. I forget how many times that has been that way now. Probably about 6 or 7 now. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and put this into the case and press it in. Now this should go easily over the gear, like this. See, this one's going tight. Right there it stopped. Now I'm going to hold the case upside down, put it in the press, and just press this on there like this, and it should go all the way through. We'll see what happens. You know, already the gear has to come back out because I can't do it with the gear in the case. So it comes out one more time. This came off. So this got to go back on again. And you can take your finger and just put it on the inside of there like that to make it go in over the lip instead of shearing it off. There you go. See how it popped? Make sure it's on there good again. So if you force it, you'll screw up the seal lip, so don't do that. Okay, so after I'm all done, I'll shove the gear through the hole. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm not moving the camera, but you want to watch. Where's the press? Oh, the press is way over there. That's where we're going to be. It's way down there. Here. That's close as you're going to get. So we'll be back. That makes quick work of that. So you just push it down flush, pull it off, and now the seal is in there where it belongs. Pull that back a little bit, so now you can see how it's all in there like it's supposed to be. I'll readjust my camera back down to here where I'm working again. Okay, now we gotta get this back in there. And with that seal like that, the O-ring in there, that's going to make it a little bit harder to go in there, but we'll see how it works. It's a good time for the bearings to screw with me now and fall out. appears to be in there. So the race isn't quite all the way down because that O-ring surface is still in there. Where'd my washer go? Missing tools. Great. I've got a washer goes over here that allows me to tighten the nut up someplace. Thought I left it out, but if I did, I hit it really good for myself. Appears I hit it really good for myself. There it is. Voila. Okay, that basically takes the place of the sprocket. So you stick that on there, and you can pull the nut on there. Now we have to get this over that O-ring that's on the gear now, which is not a normal thing I have to do. Alright, where is the nut? So here's our nut. Washer in there to help take up some of the gap. Alright, put the nut on backwards. Dumbass. Yeah, they had it on backwards. See how it's radius cut here, and it's sharp edge here, and you got a little chamfer, little undercut here. That's supposed to be against the sprocket, not this side. Somebody put that in backwards. A nut can go on either way, but it's only correct one way. Custom socket. I think it went all the way, but I'm going to check it, make sure. Okay, it still turns freely, which is what we want to do. Got in play in there. See this in play here? It's hard to hold it with the camera can see because I can't work it where I need to. Hear that in play? That's the in play of the high gear inside the case here. So we have this all the way tightened up, so everything turns like it's supposed to. But we have a lot of in play. A lot being probably about 15 thousandths. Now you can either leave that, which doesn't really hurt anything, or you can tighten it up a little bit. So they make the washers a little bit tighter here, the oversized ones. These are a little bit thicker than stock. These are 70 thou thick, so that's probably about 10 thou thicker. So he has to buy a washer anyway, so I might as well sell him an oversized one. What the hell. The disadvantage is I have to take all of those rollers off to change it. But that's okay. We don't care about time around here. bearings are falling out. See? Okay, wipe down your bench real good so you make sure it's clean. I've been putting the rollers on this package because it's a good place to have one to go to. Get them all off. Okay, you need to pull out this washer here. We'll change it. We want to look at this O-ring while we're in here, make sure it was in there correctly. Looks like it was. No damage was done to it. So that would be a good sign. Now let's see how thick this washer is. I'm assuming it's probably a 60 thousandths. Yeah, 58, 60 right in that area. 59. See? So we'll go ahead and measure up our new one. 69. 10 thou bigger. Okay, we'll go ahead and put this one on there now. Got a little extra grease down there. Okay. Go ahead and re-grease this up. If you want those rollers to stay on there while I put it back in the case. Then we get to stack all these rollers back up on there. These trannys do not go together quickly if you do all your checking and fitting like you're supposed to. So if you want to make money, don't do these early trannys unless you don't care. Then you just slam them together and throw them out the door. Put standard bearings and everything, standard washers, don't check much of anything, slam it together and call it done. Don't be surprised if it doesn't last a long time it leaks. Alright, bearings are all in there. More grease on the outside to help hold them together. Grease is your friend at this point. Okay, they all appear to be all the way against the gear. Okay, now let's see what happens. It's going back together again. Looks good. Backwards thread. Okay, the gear still moves, that's a good sign. A little tighter than it was before. All that in play is gone now. So leave right in torque at the same amount. Last time I didn't get a full torque, or it's that washer is more than I thought it was, or not. It's hitting on something different because we have no in play now. So now you have no in play at all. and it's a little bit harder to turn. This means it's binding more. So this would have to wear in to make this work, which we don't like. No, it's moving. But you can't see it, that's all. It's definitely got more drag on the head though. But it has in play. That helped a little bit. Get things kind of form fitted. I think we're back to where we were before on the drag. But it's still pretty tight. I can't hold the tranny and hold the camera together. I got to put my hand where the camera goes. So anyway, it is moving in here a little bit, but not much. So it definitely doesn't have the clunk clunking anymore. So like most of this stuff, if you can't hear a clunk clunk, it's too damn tight. It'll burn itself up. So technically we have enough clearance, but in the real world it's too damn tight for me. Kind of like the same thing we did on the countershaft. So let's redo it. That one off, put the other one back on it. Put some rollers in here. Okay. So just like before, trying to make it too good just wastes his time. But at least now we know. Before we could only think it was too loose and worry about it. Now we do it and we know we didn't like it tight, so we'll go back to where we thought it was best. If you read the book, it would tell you to put it in there tight, but in the real world, loose is usually better. I'll guarantee on my race bike they have a lot of clearances and all this kind of stuff. I make things looser than they usually are, not tighter. Gotta have breathing room at high RPM and high speed. Okay, last roller. Come on. The rollers don't want to stay against the gear where they need to be. Okay. time. Looks good. Okay, drag's about the same where we left off last time. We get our clearance back a little bit. It's not going clunk, 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 but it is moving. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's going back and forth. It's trying to make noise, but not quite. Here it goes. There's some noise. Here a little bit. So it's got the clunk clunk back in it. Okay, this time we're leaving it that way. Okay. Now we can go ahead and get the countershaft into here. Oh, let's see where we're at here. We got this whole assembly in here. So you basically grab it by the dog right here in the second gear. You pick it all up with one hand. And just drop it in there. Gear moved over on me. Okay, before I put this in, I gotta mark the shaft so I know where it goes. So you gotta put your lock tab on there. The flat side goes against your inside of the case over there. So you mark it straight up and down. Looks like Andrew's put the number right in that spot. That's nice of him. So it looks like on Andrew, if the writing's straight up and down, you're probably pretty close. Oop, get where you can see it. Too blown up. So I put a mark on there so I know where it's supposed to be. There's an O-ring that goes in here. It's over here in our O-ring bag. So the O-ring is this little thin one here. It's not very big in diameter, but okay, that goes around on that. Roll it around, and then make sure you run your thumb around it, thumbnail. Work it back and forth a couple times all the way around. You want to take the twist out of the O-ring so it goes through the case nice and easy. I'm going to put sealer on this, but I'm only going to put sealer to about right here. No more than that, because the bearings are right over in this area. You want to make sure you don't put any sealer inside the tranny. If those rollers don't work, you can have a problem. We want to make sure when you push the shaft in, you got the mark straight up and down also, so you can see where you're at on that. Okay, so right now the case is dry, the bushing, because they cleaned it. Get our mark straight up and down there. There's our washer. Put that down inside the case. Grab it to help us a little bit. Okay. Take my 3-bond sealer right there. Put a little layer of that in the case. Don't go more than a 1/4 inch over with the sealer. You might have some problems if you do. Okay. A little bit too close. Just wipe off the excess. Easier said than done. Okay, so now you got the sealer on the end of the tip there. Our mark is still straight up and down. Flip the case over, run on up. You get the washer where it belongs. The washer slid way on down to the bottom, which is where we can't run it at. Okay, get it up where it belongs. Shove it up in there. Give it a little tap to put it on the way. It's all the way in, you're all the way in. Go ahead and put your plate over here. Make sure you're in the right spot over here. Looks like we are. Put the nut on there just to make sure I don't lose anything. Make sure it's pulled all the way in. I'm not going to tighten it. Gotta make sure the lock plate will be real clear over here on the side right here. Okay, flip it over. Take this off, back off. Yeah, I can leave that on there, doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead and lock. Yeah, I don't like that. It's too hard to work around that. And lock tab gets in the way of everything. Alright, put that back on. I don't like lock tabs because they cut you and jam when you're trying to work in your trannys. So we took that off. Okay, we're back where we belong. Okay, now I'm going to take my 3-bond sealer, wherever it ran off to, over here. And I'm going to encapsulate this complete countershaft area, and also over here on the high gear. We'll put a lip right around this case area, just to make sure it's in there all the way. Just in case the other two things that are sealing it don't work. Now this is one place you could put silicone sealer if you want, because it's on the outside of the case. But I like my 3-bond because it flows. Now don't aerate it. So that means don't go up and down a bunch. Just put a nice little layer in there. Make sure it's all the way in there. See any kind of an air bubble, pop it. Work it in. And leave it at that. Don't keep playing with it. To keep playing with it is just going to make a big mess. So, see how there's no air bubbles in there? And see how it sits in there? To top of the shaft is completely gray, which means it's 100% covered, so it won't leak. So just let that sit overnight, or at least an hour, without doing anything to the case, and then it'll be all sealed up. I'm going to do the same thing over here on the high gear side, except I'm not going to put quite as much on there. I'm just going to put it right on the lip area. Basically, just kind of painting it on there. That's the way, if for some strange reason it was to leak past all the other stuff on the inside there. This is one last layer of protection to keep it from leaking. The chance of it getting this far is probably 5%. It doesn't really take you a whole hell of a lot of time to just do these little extra details to make you feel better, if nothing else. You never know what's going to make it not leak, so that's how we J-bib weld up the inside of the studs and do all the other extra work too. Hi, Fred.
What's up? Putting a transmission together?
Yep. You're too late. You missed it all. You're going to have to watch the video in a couple days. Fred feels dejected now. Alright, so there's everything all sealed up. So we're going to let this thing set. So I'll probably just come back tomorrow and continue with this one. So there you go. That one's all ready to go. So there's a good view of what we did. So just let the case sit vertical or close to it, and it'll seal up. So you see how the countershaft is all sealed too. So the biggest thing is the countershaft side. But all you need is a thin layer across it. You don't need to pile, a 1/4 inch over the top of this. That doesn't do anything. Just as long as you got a little bit of a lip on there, you're fine. So, all right, that's it for now. Tomorrow we put the thing together, I guess. So there you go.